Hi, welcome back. Today I want to talk about competition. And in one of the last videos I talked about comparing, and these two are, as I already shared in that one, very related to each other. You could almost say that comparing is the act that we do silently or secretively, and competition is the outer form of it, the one that we can show and that we can use in order to hide that we're actually comparing ourselves with others. So in our societies, competition is seen as normal, is seen as natural, is seen as something that we all should strive for, or even achieve. It starts at a very, very young age that winning is better than losing. Even though we try to guide our little children when they lost, and that it's not such a bad thing, but still it's better when they win. And we see it, of course, in all our businesses, the act of competition. And it's always the dynamic of winning and losing. So it's always someone has to win at the cost of others losing, which I already explained earlier. And the interesting thing about winning and losing is that you automatically fall back in a pattern of offense and defense. So it's a very strong act of polarity, which I explained in another video, that is really showing up in this case, and that we honestly don't know that we're actually doing this, that we're fighting between good and bad, and we don't accept both polarities at the same time. And if you accept good and the bad at the same time, then you get into a full acceptance of both, and then you come into a win-win state. And then if you open up to win-win, that both parties win, that you really feel deeply into what do you need, what do I need, and can we make it happen so that we both win, and not because we are very soft and sweet to each other. No, you can still have very strong boundaries to express your needs, but the win-win is seeing both sides of the same thing. So just as an example how we can experience competition in very different ways. If you watch a football match and I have a favorite team in that football match, you will experience the match completely different than if you have no favorite at all. So if you don't really care about who is winning, but you really love to watch the play, then it doesn't really matter who wins. You just love the play, and the outcome is the same as if you have a preference for one of the parties. But if that party has lost, you feel defeated and you feel angry, or you feel frustrated, or worse, whatever your reaction is. And the opposite, of course, as well. If your party has won, then you're like on top of the world and you're happy, you want to celebrate. But the factual game, what's happening, is still the same. It's only the emotion that is changing when you observe or watch a game. So when you're in a neutral position, and neutral doesn't mean that you don't have an opinion, neutral is more like observing what is happening and seeing both sides of the play, in this case the football game, and just really enjoy the game itself. So really enjoy the tactics, how it's played, the defense and offense tactics, whatever it is. And then you can really enjoy the full match of the play. Because if you are in the competition state of being, then you can't really enjoy when your team is losing, or you get so nervous when the tension is there that your team might lose or just might win. So this whole emotional play is underneath our every act of competition, literally every act of competition. And it really disempowers us, because we know that there's something to lose. So we really are forcing ourselves to win something. And this force costs a lot of energy and is not a true empowerment. It's not showing true power of yourself, because you're really trying to achieve more than you might actually do naturally. And it costs a lot of energy. And if there is no drive for competition, but just openly joining a play, whatever it is, then you might more easily win, if I can talk about a win, in that play than that there is a force behind it. And obviously, some would say, well, the competition just gives an extra drive to make us do better things better in a better way, to make us achieve more. I mean, that's why we have all these different sets of competition, especially in games. Our Olympic Games, our football games, well, in any sport you can think of, the competition is the only way actually to improve yourself, to improve your own abilities. But who are we competing with, actually? That's the big question. Are we competing against each other? That's how it looks like. At least that's how it looks like in our competition normally. Or are we competing against ourselves? To show to ourselves that we can win, and when we win, we feel better. So why is it that we need this active competition in order to thrive at our best? And that's really something to deeply contemplate about, why it is that you need that competition behind everything you do in order to get the best out of yourself. Because I strongly believe you will actually gain less out of yourself if you really drop the whole ego thing behind winning and losing. And then you can really raise in your vibration and in your energy and in your empowerment, and really feel into what it is that empowers you naturally. And then you can still thrive for a very excellent result, but then it comes from within. And then it comes almost more effortlessly, in a sense that it's more like enjoyable and less like a need to win, a need to prove that you're better. So there is a huge difference, there's a difference who you're competing with, and although it looks like that you are competing with the other party, you're actually competing with the self. Because failure is something that we don't like in life, and especially not in our Western societies. We just don't like to fail. We don't like to make mistakes. We don't like to show that we are less than the other party or less than the other person. And then we come back to these little things of comparing that we constantly are doing, very unconsciously, but we're constantly comparing ourselves because we want to be unique. Each and every one of us wants to be unique, very naturally and very effortlessly. And instead of knowing that you're unique, we are striving for being unique. And this costs energy. And knowing that you're unique creates energy and shows empowerment. And then there was another great question about how that works with animals, between animals, as it seems they are competing with each other. And to me, I don't think that animals compete to each other. They just have a very natural instinct to survive. So because of that natural instinct to survive, they have to kill others or watch that they're not killed by others. So they're constantly measuring the other that they're meeting, even when it's about a pet, a dog for instance. They're constantly measuring, can I win this game or not? Or is it okay and can I just leave it? But that has nothing to do with competition as such. That's more like a natural survival instinct that's very strong within animals. And of course they need to, because if they don't have humans around, they need to take care of their own food. And we have this instinct still in our DNA. We still have this need for survival in our DNA. That's why our reaction of fight and flight, when we feel fear, comes up. And that really narrows our mind and narrows our thinking, because we really have to put all the energy in our legs and in our arms in order to run or to fight. And this is actually the base ground also for our competition. So that's where you can see that you don't use your whole system in order to empower yourself. You actually get very unconsciously and very subtle, of course, in a fight-flight modus when you feel the stress of competition. And that weakens your system. Then you don't use your body with all its magic and all its power. You don't use it optimally. And you actually lose even the blood in your brain, so you can't even think optimally. So if you really want to get the best out of yourself, you also need the complete embodiment in a full balance and in a full energized state in order to show that. And that's why I strongly believe that competition is really weakening us and not strengthening us. Even though it seems like that, and even though it's been told like that, to get the best out of yourself, and especially in Northern America, it's a really strong empowerment thing to compete and to win at the cost of others who are losing, even though they might not tell it like that. But we know it is at the cost of others, otherwise you cannot win. If you're in the win-lose dynamic, someone has to lose, right? So the other person is winning only when someone is losing. And of course you see it in many cultures, not just North America, but it's in many cultures. It's just a normal thing to be in competition. And we even argue about it like it's a normal thing, because it's just without competition, it doesn't exist. Many people are convinced that we cannot run businesses without competition. And to me, honestly, the company like Apple, with Steve Jobs at the time, was almost the only one who was not competing with others, but was really following their own path, even though it was not always very wise. And looking at the figures and the choices they made in the past, it was not a very wise decision. But they were only competing, especially Steve Jobs was only competing with himself. He just wanted to improve himself. He wanted to show that he knew what the customers would need. And you could say by now he has been quite right in that. Whereas Microsoft is more always in the state of competition, always in the state of comparing, always trying to beat the other. Just as an example of two big software companies on this planet. So it's absolutely possible for businesses to step out of the need for competition, and you can also call it a finite and infinite game, and just get into the infinite game and really improve yourself and really feel into what it is that you are doing here, and what your purpose is, and how you can be of service. Well, that's a whole other topic I will talk another time about. But so this act of competition for me is really weakening ourselves and not strengthening ourselves. Okay, well, I'll see you in the next one.